retreat. Its bark grows up to 20 centimeters in thickness, encircling the tree like a coat wrapped around the trunk and branches, and keeping the inside at a constant 20 degrees Celsius all year round, developed most probably as a defense against forest fires. Developed most probably developed most probably as a defense against forest fires. The bark of the tree of the cork oak has a particular cellular structure with about 40 million cells per cubic centimeter. That technology has never succeeded in replicating. The cells are filled with air, which is why cork is so buoyant. The cells are filled with air, which is why cork is so buoyant. It also has an elasticity. That means you can squash it and watch it spring back to its original size and shape when you release the pressure. It also has an elasticity. That means you can squash it. That means you can squash it and watch it spring back to its original size and shape when you release the pressure. Cork oaks grow in a number of Mediterranean countries, including Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, and Morocco. They flourish in warm, sunny climates where there is a minimum of 400 millimeters of rain per year and not more than 800 millimeters. Like grape vines, the trees thrive in poor soil, putting down deep roots in search of moisture and nutrients. Southern Portugal's Alentejo region meets all of these requirements, which explains why, by the early 20th century, this region had become the world's largest producer of cork, and why today it accounts for roughly half of all cork production around the world. Most cork forests are family-owned. Many of these family businesses, and indeed many of the trees themselves, are around 200 years old. Cork production is, above all, an exercise in patience. From the planting of a cork sapling to to the first harvest takes 25 years, and a gap of approximately a decade must separate a harvest from an individual tree. And for top quality cork, it's necessary to wait a further 15 to 20 years. You even have to wait for the right kind of summer's day to harvest cork. If the bark if the bark is stripped on a day when it's too cold or when the air is damp. It's damp. It's damp. The tree will be damaged. Cog harvesting is a very specialized profession. No mechanical means of stripping a cork bark has been invented, so the job is done by teams of highly skilled workers. First, they make vertical cuts down the bark using small sharp axes. Then then lever it away in pieces as large as they can manage. The most skillful cork strippers prize away a semicircular a semicircular husk that runs the length of the trunk from just above ground level to the first branches. It is then dried on the ground for about 4 months before being taken to factories, where it is boiled to kill any insects that might remain in the cork. Over 60% of cork then goes on to be made into traditional bottle stoppers. And with most of the remainder being used in the construction trade, corkboard and cork tiles are ideal for thermal and and acoustic insulation, while granules of cork are used in the manufacture of concrete. Recent years have seen the end of the virtual monopoly of cork as a material for bottle stoppers due to concerns about the effect it may have on the contents of the bottle. This is caused by a chemical compound called 2,4,6, which forms through the interaction of plant phenols, uh, chlorine, and mold. The tiniest concentrations, as little as 3 or 4 parts to a trillion, can spoil the taste of the production contained in the bottle. Uh, the result has been a gradual yet steady move towards plastic stoppers and more recently to aluminum screw caps. These substitutes are cheaper to manufacture, and in the case of screw caps, more convenient for the user. The classic cork stopper does have several advantages. However, firstly, its traditional image is more in keeping with that of the type of high-quality goods with which it has long been associated. Secondly, and very importantly, cork is a sustainable product that can be recycled without difficulty. Moreover, cork forests are resources which support local biodiversity and prevent desertification. biodiversity and prevent desert, desertification in the regions where they are planted. So, given the current concerns about environmental issues, the future of this Asian material once again looks promising. Second passage, collecting as a hobby. Collecting must be one of the most varied of human activities, and is one that many of us psychologists find fascinating. Many forms of collecting have been dignified. Many forms of collecting have been dignified with a technical name. An archtophilist collects teddy bears. A philatelist collects postage stamps, and deltiologist collects postcards. Amassing amassing hundreds or even thousands of postcards, chocolate wrappers, chocolate wrappers, or whatever takes time, energy, and money that could surely be put to much more productive use. And yet, there are millions of collectors around the world. Who do they do it? Or why do they do it? There are the people who collect because they want to make money. This could be called an instrumental reason for collecting, that is, collecting as a means to an end. They will look for, say, antiques, antiques that they can buy cheaply and expect to be able to sell at a profit. But there may well be a psychological element to buying cheap and selling there can give the collector a sense of triumph. And as selling online is so easy, more and more people are joining in. Many collectors collect to develop their social life, attending meetings of a group of collectors and exchanging information on items. This is a variant on joining a bridge club or a gym, and similarly brings them into contact with like-minded people. Another motive of collecting is a desire to find something special or a particular example of the collected item. Particular example of the collected item, or a particular example of the collected item, such as a rare early recording by a particular singer, such as a rare early recording, such as a rare early recording by a particular singer. Early recording, singer. Early recording by a particular singer. Some may spend their whole lives in a hunt for this. Psychologically, this can give a purpose to a life that otherwise feels aimless. There is a danger, though, that if the individual is ever lucky enough to find what they are looking for, rather than celebrating their success, rather than celebrating their success, they may feel empty now that the goal that drove them on has gone. If you think about collecting postal stamps, another potential reason for it, or perhaps a result of collecting, is its educational value. Stamp collecting opens a window to other countries and to the plants, animals, or famous people shown on their stamps. Similarly, in the 19th century, many collectors amassed fossils, animals, and plants from around the globe, and their collections provided a vast amount of information about the natural world. Without these collections, our understanding would be greatly inferior to what it is. Greatly inferior to what it is in the past and nowadays too, though to a lesser extent. A popular form of collecting, particularly among boys and men, was transporting. This might involve trying to see every locomotive, locomotive locomotive of a particular type using published data that identifies each one and ticking off each engine as it is seen. Transporters exchange information these days often by mobile phone, so they can work out where to go to see a particular engine. As a byproduct, many practitioners many practitioners of the hobby become very knowledgeable about railway operations or technical specifications of different engine types. Similarly, people who collect dolls may go beyond simply enlarging their collection and develop an interest in the way that dolls are made or, or the materials that are used. These, these, these have changed over the centuries from the wood that was standard in the 16th century Europe through the wax and porcelain of later centuries to the plastics of today's dolls. Our collectors might be inspired to study how dolls could reflect notions of what children like or ought to like. Not all collectors are interested in learning from their hobby, though, so what we might call a psychological reason for collecting is the need for a sense of control, perhaps as a way of dealing with insecurity. Stamp collectors, for instance, arrange their stamps in albums, usually very neatly, organizing their collection according to certain commonplace commonplace principles, perhaps by country in alphabetical, alphabetical, alphabetical order, or grouping stems by what they depict, people, birds, maps, and so on. One reason, conscious or not, for what someone chooses to collect is to show the collector's individualism. Someone may decide to collect something as unexpected as dog collars, for instance, may be conveying their belief that they must be interesting themselves. And believe it or not, there is at least one dog collar museum in existence, and they grow out of a personal collection. Of course, all hobbies give pleasure, but the common factor in collecting is usually passion. Pleasure is putting it far too mildly. More than most other hobbies, collecting can be totally engrossing, can give a strong sense of personal fulfillment. To non-collectors, it may appear an eccentric, if harmless, way of spending time, but potentially collecting has a lot going for it. Passage 3. What's the purpose of gaining knowledge? I would found an institution where any person can find instruction in any subject. That was the founder's motto for Cornell's University, and it seems an apt characterization of the different university, also in the USA, where I currently teach philosophy. A student can prepare for a career in resort management, engineering, interior design, accounting, music, law enforcement, you name it. But what would be founders of these two institutions have thought of a course called Arson for Profit? I kid you not, we have it on books. Any undergraduates who have met the academic requirements can sign up for the course in our program in fire science. Naturally, the course is is intended for prospective arson investigators. We who can learn all the tricks of the trade for detecting whether the fire was deliberately set, discovering who did it, and establishing a chain of evidence for effective prosecution in a court of law. But wouldn't this also be the perfect course for prospective arsonists to sign up for? Prospective arsonists. My point is not to criticize academic programs in fire science. They are highly welcome as part of the increasing professionalization of this. They are highly uh, they are highly welcome as part of the increasing they are highly welcome as part of the increasing professionalization of these and many other occupations. However, it's not unknown for a firefighter to torch a building. This example suggests how dishonest and illegal behavior, with the help of higher education, can creep into every aspect of public and business. I realized that this I realized this anew when I was invited to speak before a class in marketing, which is another of our degree programs. The regular instructor is a colleague who appreciates the kind of ethical perspective I can I can bring as a philosopher. There are endless ways I could have approached this assignment, but I took my cue from the title of the course, Principles of Marketing. It made me think to ask students, is marketing principled? After all, a subject matter can have principles in the sense of being codified, having rules, as with football or chess, without being principled in the sense of being ethical. Without being principled in the sense of being ethical. Without being principled in the sense of being ethical. Without being principled. After all, subject matter can have principles in the sense of being codified, having rules, as with football or chess, without being principled in the sense of being ethical. Many of the students immediately assumed that the answer to my question about marketing principles was obvious. No, just look at the ways in which everything under the sun has been marketed. Obviously, it need not be done in a principled, ethical fashion. Is that obvious? I made a suggestion, which may sound downright crazy in light of evidence that perhaps marketing is by definition principled. My inspiration for this judgment is the philosopher Immanuel Kant, who argued that any body of knowledge consists of an end or purpose and a means. Let us apply those terms means and the end to marketing. The students have signed up for a course in order to learn how to market effectively, but to what end? There seem to be two main attitudes toward that question. One is that the answer is obvious. The purpose of marketing is to sell things and to make money. The other attitude is that the purpose of marketing is irrelevant. Each person comes to the program and course with his or her own plans, and these need not even concern the acquisition of marketing expertise as such. My proposal, which I believe would also be Kant's, is that neither of these attitudes captures the significance of the end to the means for marketing. Is that neither of these attitudes captures the significance of the end to the means for marketing. The end to the means 手段的结果 captures significance of the end to the means for marketing. It's a significance of the end to the means for marketing. A field of knowledge or a professional endeavor is defined by both the means and the end. Hence, both deserve scrutiny. Students need to study both have how to achieve X and also what X is. It is at this point that arson for profit becomes supremely relevant. That course is presumably all about means, how to detect and prosecute criminal activity. It is therefore assumed that the end is good in ethical things. When I ask fire science students to articulate the end or purpose of their field, they eventually generalize to something like the safety and welfare of society, which seems right. As we have seen, something could use the very same knowledge of means to achieve a much less noble end, such as personal profit via 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 destructive, a dangerous, reckless activity. But we would not call that firefighting. We have a separate word for it, arson. Similarly, if you employ the principles of marketing in an unprincipled way, you would not be doing marketing. We have another term for it, fraud. Kant give an example of a doctor and a poisoner who used identical knowledge to achieve their divergent ends. we would say that one is practicing medicine, the other murder.